Hi everyone, this is lesson 5.1, fraction decomposition. We will be decomposing fractions, or breaking them down into their smaller parts. Let's begin. What equation, number model, number sentence, what equation can you write to show 3/4 as the sum of the yellow fraction circle pieces? Okay, each yellow piece is 1/4 of my whole. So I have 1/4 and 1/4 and 1/4. Sum, answer to an addition problem. I have 1/4 plus another 1/4 plus another 1/4. And if I add those three together, I have a total of 3/4. So let's think about this. I need to add 3 tablespoons of milk to my recipe. So 1 tablespoon plus 1 tablespoon plus 1 tablespoon equals 3 tablespoons. What's my unit? Tablespoons. Okay. So I have 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 equals 3/5. What's my unit? My unit is 1/5. This is called a unit fraction. Any fraction that is one of the equal parts is called a unit fraction. 1/4 is a unit fraction. 1/10 is a unit fraction. 1/12 is a unit fraction. A unit fraction, any fraction with 1 as its numerator. In this lesson, we're learning to decompose fractions. Here is my whole. Here is 2/8 of my whole. I can decompose my 2/8 into 1/8 plus 1/8. This would be the sum of unit fractions. Here is a mixed number. It's called a mixed number because we have a whole number and we have a fraction. 1 and 2/8. Let's decompose using fraction circles. You can go to Connect Ed, go to the e-toolkit, click e-tools, choose fraction circles. Okay, so we were going to decompose 1 and 2/8. That's 1 whole. These are my 8ths. Click on your 8ths. Use the hammer to break them apart. 1 and 2/8. And we can get rid of the rest of these pieces that we're not using. Okay, here's my 1 whole and 2/8. My 1 whole in 8ths would be equivalent to 8/8. So I have 8/8 plus 2/8 and all together they equal 1 whole and 2/8. I can decompose my 1 and 2/8 in many different ways. I could say 2/8 plus 2/8 plus 2/8 plus 2/8 plus 2/8. Two eighths plus 2/8 plus 2/8 plus 2/8 plus 2/8 would also equal my 1 and 2/8. Let's decompose 1 and 3/5. These are my fifths. This is 1 whole in fifths. And now I need 3 more. I'm going to break them apart. Get rid of the pieces I don't need. Here's my 1 and 3/5. Let's decompose this. I could say 5/5 plus 3/5 Sorry for this handwriting. 5/5 plus 3/5 equals 1 and 3/5. I can decompose this in other ways. Let's decompose this into the sum of unit fractions. 1/5 plus 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 1/5. Let's put our fraction circle pieces back together again. This is my 1 and 3/5. Let's see how else I can decompose into the sum of its smaller pieces. I'm going to break these apart again. This time, let's say 2/5 plus 2/5 plus 2/5 plus 2/5. Let me get my pencil. I have 2/5 plus 2/5 plus 2/5 plus another 2/5. And in total, it's a total of 1 and 3/5. I can add the fractions and see that it's 2, 4, 6, 8. 8/5 in total. This is a fraction greater than 1. And if I put my fifths back together, I can see that it is equivalent to 1 and 3/5. In Lesson 5.1, we're exploring decomposing fractions into the sums of fractions with the same denominator. In class, we have fraction circle pieces that we can use to help us see what's happening. At home, you can go on to Connect Ed, onto the toolkit, and use the same fraction circle pieces so that you can actually see what's happening with our fractions when we decompose them into the sums of fractions with the same denominators. See you in class!